Blaze up the fire, make it burn them. Major fire, I go burn them. And me say blaze up the fire, make it burn them. Kevis Major, I go burn them. And me say blaze up the fire. Yo, check it out. Greetings, salutations, and good now. I'm local astrologer Kevis Major, doing it major. And in today's video, we're gonna be breaking down the stellium that we have in Sagittarius. All right, we're gonna be diving deep into what is a stellium, the planetary placements, some aspects that are surrounding the stellium, and then we're also going to talk about how this stellium is going to be affecting you personally on a deeper level. So we're going to talk about the stellium through the different houses, and this stellium is going to fall in one of these houses, one of these areas of life. This video should touch on how the stellium is going to affect you, you know what I'm saying? And we know that is the Scorpio season. A lot of people are getting stung, burned, cheated on, shot at, you know what I'm saying, exposed. But also people are diving deeper into people, places, things, circumstances, and situations that also could benefit them and lead them towards their spiritual expansion. But today, tomorrow, and even since yesterday, we were being aided and embedded by this this major fire trine. You understand me? Because it's Kevis Major and this thing of the dang. So the major fire trine. But in this video, we're gonna specifically be speaking towards the stellium. Now, a stellium is when you have three planets or three energetical forces in one sign or in one house, and they're all conjuncting each other. So this conjunction between the different planets or heavenly bodies, today we have Moon, Venus, and Mercury, which are very potent and impotent. So the conjunction between these three forces is powerful for exploring the tension between enjoyment, which is Venus, communication, which is Mercury, and our personal growth, which is the Moon, that deals with our inner man's, our inner woman's, or our inner child. Now, when it comes to the stellium, again, you know, it is going to cause tension between these three energies. Now, they could work together and be harmonious if you know how to balance the energies, but it could also be a time of emotional overwhelmment. You know what I'm saying? People could be frustrated and be in chaotic inner states just because they don't know how to, you know, jump rope or have the tug of war and play out the different energies. So it could be quite chaotic when you have stelliums. The stellium is happening in Sagittarius, so this will, you know, help us to pinpoint different characteristics of how, you know, the stellium could play out, because Sagittarius, or the Sagittarian energy, is adventurous. Think about the horseman with the arrow. You know what I'm saying? The horseman could run around all day long on his four legs and explore and have adventures. You understand me? Sagittarius also loves freedom, and, you know, they love expansion. So when it comes to all of these planets being in the Sagittarius space, you could understand how your inner man's, your inner woman's, your inner comfortability is expanding at this time. And when it comes to your pleasure and, you know, how you like to go about feeling fulfilled, that is going through some sort of transformation and expansion, and you're trying to feel a bit more free when it comes to your sensuality and, you know, your sensual liberties in some way, shape, or form. And then when it comes to our thinking, communicating, processing information, being analytical, and even social, that also too is going to be going through a curious state or stage. So, you know, a lot of energies and a lot of tensions, and the Sagittarius infuses this pairing with optimism, pushing for enjoyment of life, bigger experiences. So again, we're going to be looking for some experiences that You know what I'm saying? Make us like on the edge, feel on the edge, edgy type of experiences, and give us like a thrill, and tap us deeper into just life and what it is to be human and have this human experience. There's also an opposition with Jupiter, and Jupiter is retrograde in Gemini. So when it comes to the planet that deals with experiences, we are relearning how to process information, and we are thinking and analyzing and even communicating, maybe not in the most sufficient way, but we are going through a period of time when we are regathering and repurposing and refocusing ourselves based on the experiences that we had before. So the Sagittarius energy can add a more tug of war, more of a push and pull between our desires for abundance and fulfillment, and a tendency to overdo things, or swing between excess and restraint. So our wisdom is showing us that, okay, we need to have some sort of discipline in this time, and mystically, like, Jupiter is also going to create situations to kind of suppress you, and bring you opposition and things to kind of force you to slow down in some way, shape, or form. So even though we are quite passionate and quite well up to go towards what we have going on, just Jupiter bringing in the wisdom and knowledge is going to, make us order our steps more according to our divinity or our divine plan. So let's talk deeper about the different planets that constitute the stellium, because we already established that they could interchange the energies when it comes to moon, our mood, Venus, our pleasure and communicating, and they could share the spotlight, but they could also be confusion and tension. And so balance is what we need. We all need to tap into our inner libertarian energy. All right, so again, the moon that deals with our emotions and instincts is going to conjunct Venus. All right, so there's going to be a clash or even a joining of energies when it comes to our mood and our pleasure, and there's going to be an urge to indulge into the fullness of life. Yes, Sagittarius again is going to push us towards just wanting to feel enjoyed and going towards it. And when you want something, you go hard for it, especially when it comes to your fulfillment and cravings, and even your habits, bad habits, addictions, and even if you have real toxic tendencies, because this whole thing is a spectrum. So people are narcissistic and manipulative, and they crave for those type of interactions where they could drink other people's energy. You understand me? So we need to be very careful in this point in time. Again, spiritual protection is needed. Yeah. When it comes to our thinking and communication, Mercury is going to be conjuncting the moon and Venus. So the Sagittarian energy, when it comes to adventure, and just exploring different thought forms, because Mercury again is thought, so we are having that Sagittarian adventure and exploration mentally. So we want to feel mentally stimulated. We want to go places in our mind, and we want to go to a new space and a new realm in terms of what we are thinking about and the information that we are processing, because the Sagittarius again wants to evolve and not involve, like become smaller, but externally push out. It's almost like, what's an animal that puts out another layer of skin and takes up more space, like like a snake or something that is not really shedding but just like growing out more horns or something, more intelligence, more wisdom and knowledge. So again, this Mercury in Sagittarius is going to be more direct, because fire is direct, so more blunt communication. You know what I'm saying? People are going to be straightforward with their expressions, and people are going to be curious and poking and what's the word, bantering and sarcastic and, you know, witty banter, but also getting their points across. You know what I mean? But they could do it in a enthusiastic, charismatic way. Let's see what other energies we have. There's a trine between Mars and Neptune that adds conviction and imagination, and it taps us deeper into some element of our individuality, which ultimately leads to our spirituality. So that's going to be kind of bleeding out and being expressed. We also have a sextile with Pluto that deals with transformation. So, you know, again, deep truths and deeper understanding is one of the underlying modes or tones that are going to be, you know, experienced during this time. Number 3, we have, you know, the Sagittarius energy. Again, we spoke about Moon, Venus, Mercury, but just all of that Sag energy in general. Like, people are going to be having experiences, because that's the thing that ultimately leads to, you know, our expansion and our growth. And so, yes, you could have all the theory and the book knowledge and all the sciences and stuff like this, but until you do the experiments, and, you know, this grand fire trine, especially with Mercury, our intellect being in fire, we're going to want to be experimental and be doing experimental things. So, you know, go about this with some sort of safety or safeguarding measures in place. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of aspects that are influencing this stellium that is, you know, urging us to be adventurous and curious when it comes to our pleasures and the way how, you know, we think and process information. All right, so before we get into the aspects, I just need to stress that the energies that we're experiencing today, guys, is like a double whammy, because the stellium in Sagittarius is going to be electrified and energized by the major fire trine. You understand me? Because we have all of these other placements in fire that is going to lend towards a harmonious flow of these fiery energies, and the modalities are going to click, not clash, and we are going to be, you know, enabled to initiate, fixate, and also transmute and mutate situations to our pleasing. And so we need to keep that in mind. Another tidbit to be conscious of is that we have Chiron in Aries conjuncting. So there's also another stellium in Aries that we're not even speaking of, which is more spiritual by nature, because we have the nodes there. But I briefly want to touch on Chiron, because throughout this whole time I haven't touched on Chiron. And Chiron is dubbed as the wounded healer. So Chiron deals with, you know, mistakes that we could make and things that traumatize us and wound us emotionally, and even down to physical things that could wound us. You understand me? Times when we are sick and go through embarrassments, and real major events are turning points in our life that deal with, you know, some sort of mistake and even an injury, you know, you being at fault and your mishaps. And so somewhere along the line with this major fire trine, there is a gift to, you know what I mean, stumble upon some mishaps and mistakes and things that may traumatize you, or some traumatizing experiences, because again, you know, connecting us and training us in with Sagittarius, we're going to have a gift to unlock some experiences in some way, shape, or form. All right, so I know it's a lot because today is very significant, aka the US elections, and the results are going to be announced, and we're going to know who's going to be the new quote unquote world boss. And man, it's so crazy with the synchronicities. Like, we got the trine, the fire trine, and we got 3 cruise ships into there. And everything really comes in threes. So look out for the synchronicities coming in threes, people. Alright, let's get into some breakdowns before we talk about how this stellium is going to go through the houses. Because again, the different aspects or the different planetary positions that align with this stellium is going to create some, opportunities or some harmonious situations and joining of, different energies to create, different elements that and different tools that we could use for our, benefit. It's also going to create challenges and oppositions and obstacles and hurdles that are going to test us. And so we need to look out for the different aspects. So one of the major aspects is Sun trine Saturn. Now the trine, if you've been listening to the videos, is a gift or opportunity, a harmonious alignment that provides grounding, because Saturn again, deals with boundaries and restrictions. It's a earth like energetic force that enforces stability and structure and discipline and routines. And so, this discipline is going to help us to manage the more fiery and sassy and excessive tendencies of Sagittarius. And so it's going to support responsibility and maturity and, just keep the temperaments level at this point in time. So again, Saturn that deals with, being structured and organized and, some setting some restrictions and boundaries for yourself and limitations, so you don't overexpress with the sun. You don't overdo things or overexert yourself with the sun, and the sun is in Scorpio. So anything you say or do might come off quite emotional, even though, your moon, which is your mood, and your sentiment, even how you feel and how you're thinking, is in Sagittarius, which is a more fiery state. You understand? So people are quite passionate, but they may come across being, sensitive or emotional. So we need to use that Saturn energy to, keep us grounded and, be practical in this point in time. So again, you gotta be using these energies towards your goals. We have the moon. We already talked about the moon conjuncting Venus, but again, the moon, your inner man's, your inner woman's, your inner child, how you feel comfortable inside, is going to be also conjuncting or closely aligned with, your pleasures and how you want to feel fulfilled and, what you're craving for in terms of, relationship and intimacy and even creative expression. And so, this kind of emphasizes the need to, have meaningful connections, because your inner child wants to have a long-term sense of comfort. You understand me? And Venus deals with pleasure, so you might want to feel, temporal pleasures and fulfillments, because we know our pleasures and fulfillment is temporal from an external level, but if you harness these qualities internally, then it could be more long lasting. So that's something to keep in mind. We have moon in conjuncting Mars, and so it's in conjunctions cause frictions between the different energies. So your inner man's, inner woman's is going to be in some sort of conflict in terms of the way how you assert yourself and go towards your passions. And this could result in like mood swings and frustrations when it comes to achieving balance and just a sense of being stable, And so with this type of aspect, we need to be careful, because it makes it difficult for us to pursue our desires, even though this is the time to go for it. So there might be some minor frustrations that are kind of holding you back. and we also have Jupiter opposing the moon. And so this opposition, based on our experiences and our preconceived notions, could kind of slow us down and, you know, dampen our optimism and make it more realism, you know. So this can also manifest in fluctuation in moods and even overindulging, because, you know, when you feel moody and things ain't really going your way, you just want, you know, dive into your moon, indulge into that moon a bit more and into that pleasure, and, you know, just do something that gonna fulfill you and make you comfortable on a temporal level, aka Venus conjuncting the moon, you know, opposing Jupiter. Because again, to your better judgment, wisdom and knowledge, and based on your overstanding and understanding of life, you know that even though things may not be going smooth and you know, having these opposing feelings or whatever, Saturn urging us to be practical and stable. So, you know, we just got to be able to balance these energies. There's a whole host of things. We have Uranus in conjuncting again. So Uranus deals with your individuality and, you know, your notion to rebel and go against society, go against even yourself and things that you have previously established as, you know, your standard or your norm, or, you know, the level that you're on. So when we have, you know, this in conjunction with Uranus, our emotional state is a bit unpredictable, because again, we're dealing with rebellion, we're dealing with change and unsudden, unpredictable change. So again, we might be feeling a lot of mood swings and changes in terms of even our plans and what we want to do based on, you know, just these next couple of days. This is going to alter like the trajectory of a lot of people's life based on, you know, what happened with the elections, based on what happened with these three cruise ships, based on what happened with this explosion and these fireworks that blow off this person's hand. So there's a whole lot of change in the atmosphere, and Uranus is, you know, like it kind of sounds like, you know, in sonology, Uranus. Some people are gonna be showing their ass and be showing their uniqueness and their individuality and be rebelling, showing the middle finger and being like, you know what, screw that. Yeah, maybe I used to stand on that, but now I want to stand on this. And so it's going to amplify the need for like personal space and independence, and, you know, just the potential to create like restlessness, because you're going to want to express a certain type of freedom at this point in time with all of these fiery energies. And so we need to be mindful of that. Moon square Neptune, again, tapping us into our spirituality, into our dreams and our ideas and idealism and our ideal world. So the square is a learning process, and so our judgment could be clouded, because mood is learning how to not get lost into idealism and what we think, you know, the world should be like, or what we think our life should be like. And so that could tap people into escapism and daydreaming and fantasizing and thinking about what shoulda, coulda, woulda been versus the realities of life. And the thing with Neptune is all about being able to manifest it, you know. So your dreams or your ideas and, you know, your fantasies, your wannabes, your wishes, you know, it's about being able to balance and mitigate and to bring those things down into our reality. And it takes time. So we don't need to get frustrated and lost into our dreams when we have things on the plate in front of us that could help us to get to those higher ideals and higher wishes and desires. Mercury trining. So Mercury is going to enable us to think about it and connect to these, dreams. So let's say you want to start a business, or you want to have this relationship, or you want to, overcome a certain situation. This is a type of time where, you could put all of this fiery energy to use and just create certain visions and visualizations of yourself accomplishing certain goals and manifesting them. But don't really get too moody, frustrated about it. So, Mercury is bringing in some good um, aspects. Mercury is also sextile in Pluto, which deepens our thinking and help us to be more analytical, because Jupiter deals with transformation and hidden truths and the dark. And so Jupiter is going to discover some deep hidden realities about ourselves. And, we just need to embrace, those moments of realization and realness. Real, recognize real. So just embrace the realness, understand? Venus is opposing Jupiter. So again, these oppositions are going to spark conflict and tension when it comes to, our pleasures and how we want to feel fulfilled, and even relationships and love matters. And we all have an idea of the ideal relationship or situationship that we want to be in. Some people into polygamy, some people into monogamy, some people, just want to be happy. Women want to be boss babes. Men want to have a submissive woman. Like, everybody has their idea of, how they want to feel fulfilled, whether it's relationships and intimacy, like I was just talking to, or just, their creative expression. And, even though, because some people are single. So, that whole, you know, feeling fulfilled and feeling happy with yourself, even while not having a partner, and even diving more deeper into your sense of attraction and attracting someone, and having that inner magnetism, you know what I mean? So that self-love that exudes, that attracts a person. Because some people trauma bond and get attracted to a person based on their trauma and their wounds and shit like this. But some people attract purely off of magnetism and their creative energies and how they express themselves, and their ascendant and their sun sign, and just more off of them, their expressions. And the more you cultivate a sense of self-love, and you could pleasure yourself without masturbating, but just have peace within yourself, and a deep sense of self-worth and love and inner beauty that becomes external beauty. And people just say that you're beautiful even if you don't have the most beautiful external body. So Venus opposing Jupiter is going to cause us to want to pleasure seek, and our hold on, we were talking about the opposition. Yeah, we were talking about the opposition. And so it's going to want us to pleasure seek, because that's Venus' tendency to go towards our pleasure. But as I said, based on our wisdom and knowledge and understanding and inner standing, to know that the pleasure is within, and then we manifest it without, or we attract it, because we're dealing with Venus. So we're going to attract the same type of pleasure we have internally, externally. Deep esoteric science, not a video to get into those type of inner standings. But what you need to know is that Jupiter's expansion and expansiveness, risking overindulgence right now in relationships, finances, and lifestyle, and there's just like a clash. And so we need to be mindful of this at this point in time. Venus is squaring Neptune again, so a lot of energy is surrounding Venus and Neptune. Again, Venus and Mercury and Moon is in Sagittarius, and so any aspect thereof is going to, aspect the fiery side of ourselves when it comes to our visions and illusions and even our expressions and tendencies to act out. And so everything is going to be expressed through the sun, the Scorpio. So everything could be relatable and fluid and connect to who it's supposed to connect to, the intended audience, but it may also come off moody. And so Neptune again tapping us into our illusions and delusions. You want to avoid unrealistic expectations and even passive type of energies. You know what I'm saying? Like, just be realistic right now, because Neptune will take you into la la land. All right, we are deep into the video, but we're gonna talk about how all of this that we dived into, specifically Moon, Mercury, and Venus in Sagittarius, aspecting our life, are influencing our lives in a way that brings curiosity, and we're going to be seeking for different experiences that fulfill us, and trying to dive deeper into ourself, because Moon in a man's, in a woman's, is looking for exploration. So we're gonna be diving in. Well, we should be diving in before going out, but some people are gonna crash out, you know what I'm saying? Purely externalize and go for the superficial, materialistic, surface level crumbs, that we are all privy to, but again, it's about going within first when it comes to fulfillment and filling ourselves, self-fulfillment, but don't dive too deep into self-pleasurement. Otherwise, it's going to externalize as you just having to, please yourself. So it's a tricky esoteric mechanism. Let's go into the houses. Yeah, house by house. So if you're having the stellium in the first house, if you are having the stellium, the Sagittarius stellium with the Moon, Venus, and Mercury in the first house, this is going to be strong, adventurous personality, direct, candid self-expression, and potential for inspiring others, balancing confidence and humility. All right, so it's more personal when it comes to the influx of energies. When it comes to the second house, if you have the stellium in your second house, it's going to be more predicated on expanding your values, surrounding wealth, comfort, and personal worth. So there's a focus on financial and material expansion. So again, I told you some people are gonna crash out and be more surface level. So be cautious around excess or overcommitting, especially when it comes to superficial materialistic stuff. Now it goes to a deeper level because you don't want to dive deeper into relationships, because again, the second house deals with your values and moral and ethics. And so we have Venus that could align us with other people and other situations where our morals value align. So you don't want to dive deep into some sort of commitment or relationship, have that type of needy energy. It's a time of knowing your self-worth, and this is what I bring to the table, that's what you bring to the table, outside of the emotional connection and physical attraction, and we have something to build on outside of the external realms. Third house, if you're having the stellium in the third house, now this is more emphasis on curiosity and communication, and a strong desire to share ideas, even for teaching, preaching, writing, documenting, journaling, and exploring different ways of, you know, getting your points across. So watch out for being too blunt, too raw, and just overstating your beliefs, because a lot of people are going to be throwing their opinions out. Again, Sun in Scorpio, a lot of people are going to be emotional, going to be wearing their heart on their sleeve, and going to be, expressing out of, their emotional states. So if you're having the stellium in the third house, you may be, you know, thinking about a lot of things. A lot of things may be happening surrounding your, close surroundings, even your siblings. You're going to It's going to challenge your happiness, because again, the third house deals with just your analytical skills, and you need to have some sort of belief system in order to really process information. And so people's belief systems in some way, shape, or form is going to be challenged, because based on the different aspects, there are going to be, challenges when it comes to, you know, your third house and stuff like this. Fourth house, if you have the stellium in the fourth house, and I know that was a bit choppy, but the stelliums are quite complex, and it involves like a tug of war of the energies. So we are trying to satisfy our mood, our feelings and pleasures, and still we're curious in terms of what we're thinking and trying to explore and expand. So there's a whole lot of pulling and pushing, because you can't do everything at the same time as a human. So even though all of the influences are happening at the same time, like there's only one thing you could really do at the same time. Though some things are subconscious and happening in the shadows, and that's how we fall and folly, because again, you only have one mouth and two hands, and our externalization is limited. So forgive me. If you have this in the fourth house, the stellium in the fourth house, a desire for nurturing, open home environment with an emphasis of personal freedom, may struggle with seeking roots and wanting change. So fourth house deals with private life, and being comfortable. And again, moon Venus deals with our comfortability. So if you're not comfortable, if you don't have a solid root, a place where your heart could be laid, that you could call your home, then you're gonna want to bustway and seek a different place of refuge. And I feel like a lot of the fixed signs going through this right now, because Sun is squaring out and opposing a lot of the fixed signs just because it's in Scorpio. So Tauruses are heavily affected right now, especially when it comes to something like this. Aquariuses are affected heavily, and also Leos are affected heavily when it comes to sentiments of their private life and relationships, and just affairs of the heart. Fifth house, if you have the stellium in the fifth house, this is going to have some sort of explosion or expansion when it comes to creativity, romance, and fun. The desire to enjoy life and to get high through excessive and scattered energy. And so grounding is emphasized at this point, or encouraged. That's a better word. Encouraged grounding at this time, because the fifth house again deals with pleasure and recreation and entertainment and shit. Some people go overboard, especially today is gonna be the elections, and if you're having the stellium in the fifth house, depending on how the election goes or what's happening in your life, people, places, things, circumstances, and situations, that may lead you to be in a state of rejoicing and trying to, celebrate. Or if you're having it in the fifth house, you're gonna be down bad, and you're gonna want to compensate for your loss or your demise, or the tragedy that's going to happen. And so that may lead you to again get excessive and scatter the energy and maybe even overindulge because you're trying to pleasure yourself. Fifth house types things, try to entertain or even distract yourself. And so you go too hard into your indulgences and you know what I'm saying, you mess around and end up into the hospital. Or, you know what I'm saying, standing on the crossroads or on top of a bridge or something because you feel like all is lost and there's nothing you could do to distract your mind or entertain your mind or, pleasure you anymore because you know what I'm saying? Anyway, stellium in the sixth house. Growth oriented mindset towards work and health. So your daily ins and outs is going to be having some sort of shift, and this is difficult but also delightful because it urges you to have some variance or variety in your routine, and variety is the spice of life. And so this encourages like harmony when it comes to your work-life balance. Some people have really sporadic or spontaneous work lives, and so sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. And so this stellium in the fifth house could be quite chaotic, but could also, help us to have a deeper understanding and overstanding and just come to terms with our reality, as what you do in your daily ins and outs. And so you could come to peace towards it. That could help you to have some sort of mental peace because mental health is paramount. It's really vital. And so, you know don't overcommit to anything. Embrace the spontaneity. So even though you may be longing for a routine, even when it comes to your pleasures, so you may be longing for a routine fix in terms of intimacy and sensuality, a relationship that's stable and structured. Don't rush into it, you understand me? Just embrace like this period of time. And it also helps us to connect and to have fun within this period of trying to get you one two together and get balance within your work and your life, and how you stabilize both of them. And another thing that I wanted to dive into is that the sixth house, even though I'm speaking more esoteric, it really taps us into our physical health, you know because frequency, vibration, energy, spirit, that taps you into your mind, and your emotional state, your inner man's, your inner workings, and then your physical externalizations. And so when you have these type of transits, it's going to affect your physical health as well, and different aspects of your anatomy. All of the alignments and energies affect your anatomy, but sixth house kind of brings it tight, brings it more home. Seventh house, if you have the stellium in the seventh house, remember we are still talking about the moon, Venus, and Mercury in Sagittarius, all conjuncting each other. In the seventh house, this is going to be expansive and dynamic partnerships, strong focus on growth through relationships, balancing independence and intimacy is essential. So things surrounding, relationships. And, I kind of want to explore this a bit more because there are people who are single. And so you may not be into a relationship. You may not have a partnership in terms of intimate partnership or situationship. But we all, have different relationships with ourselves first and foremost. And this self relationship is what encourages and sustains and maintains the external relationships that we have with other people. So when it comes to relationships or the seventh house, even if you are single, you know what I mean, there's going to be even dynamic shifts when it comes to the relationship that you have with yourself and your inner attraction and magnetism. And even, you know, the relationships that you have with others outside of a romantic setting, and, you know, even those partnerships. So, you know, you could even think about business partners. Seventh house doesn't just, you know, speak towards intimacy, you know, it also speaks towards just homie type shit too, you know what I'm saying, with the homies and with business partners and even different people who are close to you, like the bros or the sisters and shit. But is a bit different because the seventh house is longing for, like, you know, the, I don't want to say the one person or the twin flame or the soul flame or anything like that. It's looking to get like the deep confidant, the close confidence, you know, and it's kind of more predicated towards like the intimate part and the balancing of two energies to create another. So you want to have like the masculine and the feminine energy. So I'm trying to say that it still alludes heavily to, you know, traditional forms of relationships. But again, you know, single people might struggle if they have the stellium in this house. And even if you're in a relationship, you know, it may cause a lot of curiosity, you know what I'm saying, which kills the cat. But also, you know, maybe the cat didn't die and, you know, nothing really happened to the cat, but the cat just had a great time and learned new things and explored and, you know, expanded certain boundaries when it comes to intimacy and relationships. And again, Sagittarius is longing for independence. So it's going to be a sort of a struggle again between, you know, being together but still being independent, or if you're single, being an individual while also being relatable and presentable and make yourself acceptable for someone to find you or deem you attractive. All right, eighth house. If you have this thing going on in the eighth house, we already have a lot of eighth house energies that were ushered in. We had grand water trines, we got the scorpionic energies, and so deep interest in transformation and psychology and possibly financial growth through partnerships, tension between risk taking and security. Eighth house also taps us into occult things, you understand? So things that happen behind closed doors, under the table, things that are not apparent as yet or reveal unto others. And so when it comes to deep interest, again, you could see that certain things that are happening with people who have this stellium, it's not going to be publicized. You understand me? Their revolution is not going to be publicized at this point in time, because everything that happens in the darkness has the potential to come to light. But the stellium in the eighth house is going to be a more of a psychological thriller, you know, and these people are going to experience, I don't want to say a lot of things happening on their mind, but depending on their sign and their alignments, because I'm more predicated to being analytical, so I'm thinking, you know, it's going to be more on the mind. But honestly and truly, eighth house taps us into depth and, you know, deep connection, and even, you know, the whole transformative energy, which is more spiritual and subconscious and internal by natures. So a lot of internal tension, turmoil, or productivity and tilling of a soil internally to usher in some sort of growth through the deep connections and partnerships and, you know, things that go happen under the table. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'll stay with me. Ninth house. If you have the stellium in the ninth house, Nine is divine, so nine taps us into our spiritual growth, taps us into idealism and being idealistic, optimistic, adventure, curiosity, higher learning, expansion, and also helping us to break certain dogmatic views that we've been having that may have served us at one point in time, but there's change in the air. And so with this stellium in the ninth house, ultimately we shouldn't be putting up a resistance. Like Barry Hammond said, we should always be adaptable. Well, not always, but we should have the characteristic of being adaptable and flexible. So when we do have these moments that show us, hey, there's a broader perspective, there's some deeper esoteric knowledge, there's a different way of going about things and living life on a deep level that could ultimately be more productive and sustainable and tap us deeper into truth. So the ninth house is mystical because it deals with spirituality in some way, shape, or form. Through different experiences and situations, we're gonna come face to face with our mortality and immortality, and even just the lengths and depths of the human psyche and the things that a man willing to do. Here, the extent of the human complexity and just the human experience, and having this thing in the ninth house is going to, make you ponder about life on a deep level, question God and your religion and, even like why you here, why humans exist, and, them kind of things. If you're that spiritual, I just go in there because my mind has gone them kind of echelons. You might be more atheist, so you might be thinking more about aliens and futurism and, higher ideals that kind of hint allude towards some sort of spirituality or evolution or the creation and divinity of our human experience or just experience in general. That was philosophical, but if you got a stellium in the 10th house, the 10th house, ambitious career path desiring public recognition and achievement could tend towards over expansion without setting realistic goals. So 10th house deals with our status and how we are seen ultimately through your routines and what you do and what you present and different energies that accumulate together. But ultimately 10th house deals with having some sort of authority over your identity, and if you don't shape your own perception and image, then the public is going to do so for you, and people will always have their own perception and interpretation of you. But the more you could stand on business and stand on your authority and stand on your individuality, stand on your status, the more you could have something to even stand on in terms of having a platform, just even having the ability to drop you nuts, dick and pussy, and speak your mind, speak on something, to the extent where people know you as such. For example, I'm local astrologer Kevis Major, and so I could really stand on that. And so the 10th house is speaking towards, having some sort of recognition and the desire to be publicly known as who you are or who you say you are. And so, on this road of becoming, what I'm saying, and having something to stand on, set realistic goals, and also real set boundaries and certain limitations and certain parameters that work as discipline, but also some sort of confinement to tap you into your inner genius and inner MacGyver. Because if you limit the tools and technology that you have, and you just dive into your creativity and ingenuity, you could do amazing things by limiting yourself. You understand? So it taps us into the concept of less is more. So peep game. 11th house, if you have the stellium in the 11th house, yeah, this is going to cause an expansion in your social connections and your social circles, your groups and affiliations. A natural networker, a natural networker. So you're gonna be tapping into like a kind of Aquarian, Libra, Gemini type of energy, where you could, be a socialite and be more sociable, and tap into some deeper or different, not even deeper, because we are deepening through the scorpionic energy and season that we are in. But Sag is more curious, so you might even affiliate with the devil or what may seem wrong, because that's the thing that really intrigues you. Yeah? The thing that you're comfortable with doesn't really intrigue you. Is your oppositions and squares that really entice you and arouse you emotionally. Your gifts and talents, like, they could become mundane, but the thing that challenges you and opposes you and aspect you in an uncomfortable way, those are the things you should give more attention to, and those are the things that kind of naturally spark your interest. So if you're having the stellium in the 11th house, you may struggle with committing, what I'm saying, committing to someone, just because your curiosity is going to be, heightened when it comes to different social settings and, again, different networkings and groups. And this could also alter your long-term goals and ambitions, because birds of a feather flock together. So if you're starting to become curious and start to affiliate with, a different crowd, then ultimately that could change the trajectory of your life for good or for evil. So be careful if you have the stellium in your 11th house. And I haven't mentioned this, but if you want to know how this stellium is going to affect you personally, you need to have like a natal reading first. A transit reading first, a natal reading, but then a transit reading. Last but not least, if you have this stellium in the 12th house, and this stellium is only going to be here for today, but the energies are going to persist on for the next 2 days, and it's ushering in a sort of phase that we're in, because after the Scorpio season, we're going to be going into the Sagittarius season. So this is just a glimpse of what Sagittarius has to offer. Plus, we're also going to be having prominent fire replacements. So the grand fire trine isn't going to always be there and always lend towards, the free flowing of these fiery energies, but it's going to leave a permanent stain or a permanent mark. And if you're esoteric or spiritual enough, you could create like a sort of golem or tarot card or a jewel or something to kind of encapsulate this point in time, like even a video like this, so you could go back and tap into that type of energy. So you could make a hand sign, a drawing, a painting, some sort of something, that you could tap into your inner knowledge of mummification and mummify and encapsulate these energies in a point in time, or even into a seed that you could grow and blossom these type of grand trine energies at any point in time, just because you encapsulated this point in time and you're deeply connected to it based on previous alignments that enabled us and activated certain energies, like the whole scorpionic thing of deeply connecting to what the fuck you're doing and what the fuck you're saying. And so you may think that I ain't deeply tapped in, but I deeply tapped in. You understand me? My only thing is that I have my notes, but I need to get beyond the notes and just look straight into the camera. But I need to be looking at the notes, but really everything kind of coming from my soul. So even though I'm looking into this part of my mind, I'm pulling it down, and this part of my mind, like, I really zeroed in. So if you experiencing this into the 11th house, know that, your associations could ultimately lead to your fortune or demise. Now, if you're having the stellium in the 12th house, this is going to tap us into more of a spiritual, introspective, exploratory side of ourself, because moon is going to be there, which is our inner man's, inner woman's. They're going to be more in their subconscious state and tapping into your divine and into your own heavens. So 12th house is deep. Now, because it deals with heaven and our idea of our own personal heaven, whether you're religious or not, just that perfect state mentally or in your mind that you want to bring into reality, which is a spiritual science or esoteric science in itself. Now, physically, we could call it like evaporation. On a spiritual karmic level, we could call it incarnation or reincarnation. You know what I'm saying? And on a more 3D level, we call it like manifestation. And so it is a esoteric concept, you know what I'm saying? And you see how I correlated those three different mechanisms to the same, intuitive nature that we all have of, having a sort of cycle and bringing more higher ideals down into density and making what was non-matter into physical matter. And so if you're having this stellium in the 12th house, is going to be more predicated on introspection and spiritual exploration and tapping into your subconscious and trying to go beyond your veil of your mind and into some of the inner workings. And the 12th house taps us into the unknown, and it's crazy because you don't know what you don't know. So 12th house, again, deep introspection, because you're trying to uncover some hidden mysteries that you don't even know that are mysteries, but you know that you're digging for something. So this can bring profound insight, but there's a need to manage escapism tendencies, because okay, think about forever and forever and forever and how long time could exist. You understand me? And that taps us into just the length and depths of how deep you could get into thought and the whole forever concept. And so putting your mind in a more structural way, depending on your different aspects and different alignments. And I know I threw out a wild example about the concept of infinity, but again, you're trying to tap into things that you don't know. And so you could be on a deep manhunt for some sort of resolve, some sort of spiritual resolution or some sort of knowledge, some ledge to stand on, and it's a type of tricky energy. So you could either be in a harmonious state where you're getting deeper revelations and you able to digest and absorb, the time that we're in and the necessary changes when it comes to spirituality and, the revelations that come up through this introspection and healing time as well. Because anytime you have something transiting the 12th house, that taps us into these more subconscious, unconscious inner workings. When things surface and we do realize that shit, this is something I didn't realize, then if that thing that we realize is a wound or a trauma, we could heal it. So all of that is on the table when it comes to healing and rebirth and Pluto Scorpionic type of energies. So again, we can't afford to distract ourselves. If you have this happening in the 12th house, you can't dive into escapism or even procrastinating when it comes to taking time to dive deep into your mind. And I know this sounds weird, but I got a lot of people who don't take time to just not think. I'm not even talking about take time to think. I'm talking about clearing all the thoughts and trying to get into a trance-like state or a meditative state where no thoughts are on your mind and you could observe the thoughts coming, and you could even go further where no thoughts are coming into your mind and you could dive deep into different parts of your anatomy that could spark different thoughts. Like it could get deep when it comes to self-exploration and mental exploration and uncovering unconscious and subconscious inner workings. All right, we're gonna stop here for now. All in all, the stellium in Sagittarius is expansive and explosive, and you could see physical correlations, and people are gonna get blown up even physically. Sorry to be so blunt, but they're gonna be some bang bangs and some pow pows. We're gonna see some fireworks, and it's gonna be a real explosive time. No pun intended. And it's going to push for some new horizons in personal growth and just in the world in general, and we're going to have more inner standing, outer standing, understanding and overstanding of the time that we're living in. A lot of challenges are going to lie when it comes to balancing and indulging and expressing because of the fire and the Sagittarius energy. And we're going to have to ground ourselves and be realistic in terms of expectations and our way forward in life. Major farewell until we meet or greet again. I'm a local astrologer, Kevis Major, doing it major. And that's the stellium through the houses.